Procrastination is the number one excuse that is keeping you from following your dreams. It underscores every single other excuse that you have ever come up with. It is also the single thing that most people are very good at. If you would like to overcome your procrastination addiction, then stay tuned. It's time to get real. Hi, good day. My name is Jax, and welcome to Bellucci Studios. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, then please hit the subscribe button down over here somewhere, and right next to that, after you hit the subscribe button, there's a bell that will come up. If you hit the bell notification, then you will be notified every time I upload a new video onto YouTube. So in today's video, we are going to be looking at the problem that people have of procrastinating on their dreams. If you have a look at the other videos that I have in this Get Real series, you will find a whole bunch of excuses that people have come up with and have dealt with those excuses. So there's a lot of excuses that people come up with to procrastinate, to not follow through on their dreams. And I find it really, really interesting because I've always, as a matter of fact, looked for every reason to carry on with following through on my dreams. But I think that aside from those excuses that I have mentioned up to now in the Get Real series and in some of my other videos on YouTube, aside from those excuses, I think that the one thing that comes up after all of those other excuses is that people think that they have time. They think that someday in the future, when I am ready, then I will, when things are more settled, when situations are perfect, whatever the case might be, that someday in the future I'll get back to following my dreams. Okay, so that's the excuse. That's what people say. And I laugh because I know that when you start procrastinating, it usually doesn't end. Unless you come to some point in your life and you say, okay, now I'm done. And I'm hoping that this video for some of you will be the point at which you say that I'm done with this procrastination nonsense, because it's not paying off for me. So what are the real reasons behind procrastinating? Some people think that when things are perfect, when things have all worked out, and when I have more money, when I've got more time, when you fill in the blanks, when that thing comes right, then I will be able to succeed at pursuing my dreams, almost as if by some things in your life actually being resolved, that will now result in guaranteed success, when success isn't even guaranteed. So my answer to that is not correct. You can't rely on that. You can't rely on the fact that when that thing is sorted out, that somehow you will then have the time. Some people think that they have time. I've got time. When I'm ready, then I will. But right now is not a good time for me. They think that time is like a garment that you purchase, a piece of item of clothing. You purchase it and then you put it in the cupboard, and when you are ready for it, you take it out. When you're ready to wear it, you take it out and then you put it on. That's not how time works. Others think that when the situation is perfect, and when I say the situation is perfect, I mean when everything is aligned, and when that moment comes, that I know that now is the time, when that moment arrives. And you know what? You will wait for that moment for the rest of your life, because that moment does not come. So if you have any one of these excuses, if you think that when that thing in my life has worked out, then I will be able to, if you along those lines of thought, that line of thought. Or maybe you think that I have time. That's another mentality that you have. Or you think that, when the stars and moon and the sun all align perfectly, then I will know. When that writing appears in the sky, then I will know that it is time for me to pursue my dreams. If you have any kind of those delusions, and I do believe that they are delusions, then those are the things that are keeping you back. Behind your procrastinating is the fact that you've got one of those mindsets, and those mindsets they don't result in anything. So how do we get past this? How do we get past having these different kind of, and there are other things that sounds very similar to this, these excuses. The first thing that you need to realize is that you don't really have time. What you need to realize is that you have this moment. And this moment now, in a few minutes, is going to become a part of your past. And in the future that was 5 minutes ago will become part of your present. And that 5 minutes that is then part of your present will become part of your past. And that's what happens with time, is that it is constantly giving way to other time. This moment is giving way to the moment that followed it. So the moment that preceded it becomes the past. This current moment will become the past, and the moment that's in the future will be my present, but it won't be that for long, and that's how it goes. That cycle continues every single day. You can't stop it. You can't influence it. Whether you like it or not, that is gonna happen. So how exactly is it that you have time? You don't have it. You can't hold it. You can't stop it. You can't slow it down. You can't speed it up. You don't have it. So that's something that you need to realize, is that time happens. Whether you want to or not, whether you are ready or not, time happens. You also need to realize that tomorrow is not promised to you. My next moment, my next breath isn't promised to me. So if that isn't promised to me, how can I say that someday when what? What happens if my someday doesn't come? What happens if the abilities that I have now are stripped away from me in the future? What happens? What happens if the government changes their stance on certain free market activities and we become a communist state, or we become some other state that isn't good, that doesn't allow for you to do the things that you want to do? What happens if there's a coup tomorrow and everything is just turned upside down? What if you lose everything tomorrow? You don't know. So if you don't know, how can you say tomorrow? Now is the time. And for those who are thinking that, they're going to wait for the perfect time, waiting for the perfect time is like waiting for the day when you won't have an excuse. You will always have an excuse. I've been training solidly since, I think, about 2013. Maybe about June, July 2013. It could have been earlier than that, but I've been training solidly, and I started getting my act together. I've been training every day, just about every Monday to Friday. Some days I wasn't feeling well, where I was actually physically sick. Some days you get up and you just are really, really, really tired. You've been working until 12 o'clock the night before. You've got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to gym. Some days you just can't, and that's understandable. But I've been doing this solidly for 5 years, 6 years, and there are still days that I can come up with real creative excuses. Oh, I'm feeling a little bit stiff today. I feel stiff every single day. What's new? So there's always gonna come something. I'm a little bit tired. I'm always tired because I'm always busy. But you will either allow that thing to get in the way of you pursuing what you want, or you will say, you know what? You will look at it, evaluate it, and say, is this valid? If it's not valid, then can I actually go to the gym and work out? Can I do a less intense workout today, or maybe a shorter workout? But I need to do something today. I need to do something every single day. And every single day, when you put a little bit of time in, you will find that at the end you will reap something. You will get something. The bottom line is this. 5 years ago, if you look at where you are today, and you say, if I had started 5 years ago, what would I have accomplished today? And if I start today, 5 years from now, if I do not give up, and if I do work at this thing consistently, what would I have accomplished in 5 years from now? If I do live that long. And you see, we don't live with that mindset. We don't live looking at things from that perspective. So if you haven't done anything in the past 5 years, what you might start doing to yourself, you might start beating yourself up and living with regret. I would say, no, don't beat yourself up. Don't live with regret. Yeah, you did it. That's you. That's on you. Accept it. Take it like a man. Accept your mistake. Internalize that mistake. And then say to yourself, never again will I put myself in the position where I am disadvantaging myself. That is something that you can do. And when you do that and you say, right, now I'm done. I'm no longer going to use this nonsense of procrastinating. When you say to yourself that I am, from this moment onwards, I am going to start doing something. 5 years from now, you will find that you would have accomplished quite a bit. I look at my story. So the working out is one part of it. In 2007, a friend of mine came up to Johannesburg and he said, hey, we used to be buddies when you were down in Cape Town. Let's see if we can do something. There's a good friend of mine, Jonathan Jacobs. And he came up here. I had a computer. We were like, all right, let's see what we can do. We used the internal sound card. We used some free software to record things, and man, it was horrible. But we started. And in doing that, there was quite a few things that we learned. We then discovered that we needed better hardware, we needed better software, and we went out and we bought those things. And eventually things got to the point where, they were starting to talk about inputs and outputs and all of this different kind of terminologies, kilohertz and sample rates and all of this like really confusing stuff. And we were like, I was like, I'm not gonna go into a store and buy something and have a salesman bamboozle me with all of these complicated technical terms. So I went and I studied some sound engineering, and through doing that I discovered that I need to take a significant step up in the hardware that I had at the time. And I did. I took that significant step and things improved quite substantially. Not yet on the level that I wanted it to be at, but that was because I didn't know enough. There was a lot that I didn't know. And over time, after having studied, I picked up a few more things here and there, and my abilities improved. And then I realized very quickly that that I just wasn't moving fast enough, and I wanted to do something else that maybe could generate more money. And I took up photography. I learned quite a bit about photography, and I think the photos that I took that I made were quite good. And then eventually I stopped doing that, went back to the sound engineering, because that was the thing that I was actually passionate about. And what do you know? Here we are today. I'm producing YouTube videos. And these YouTube videos were things that I learned in the sound engineering. I'm taking knowledge from there. I'm taking knowledge that I've gained as a photographer. Things that I learned over the past 6 months about videography. I've taken all of those things along with the stuff that I studied at Bible college, learning about preparing a speech, preparing a sermon, how to go about doing it, research and all of that kind of thing, and how to present it. And I've taken all of these different things and I've been able to squeeze all of that stuff, all of that knowledge, all of that learning into producing these videos. Now, if I hadn't done any of those stuff, if I hadn't chased any one of those dreams, would I have been able to produce these videos today? The answer is undoubtedly no. And yes, things didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it. I encountered certain issues along the way and I've had to make certain adjustments. But the thing is that because there was momentum, and because I was busy doing things, I learned stuff, I grew, I developed, and I was then able to decide which course I want to take. And while YouTube isn't the only thing that I'm doing, there are other things that I'm working on as well. If I hadn't started, I wouldn't be here. And who knows where I'm going to be 5 years from now. And that is something that you can take from me. That if you don't start, you will never know how far you can go. So the choice is yours. You can continue procrastinating and have nothing at the end of the day, or be really good at your day job that you don't like. Or you can start pursuing your passions. Have your day job, pursue your passions, experience the fulfillment, experience the excitement of the journey. There's no such thing as wasting or losing. You learn. You win or you learn. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of another exciting episode. And this has been this has been one of the nicer ones, where I could talk about everything and also just encourage you to pursue your dreams. Go after it. Go after it hard. Thank you for coming, and I will see you on the next episode. Cheers.